The wind howled like a wounded animal across the high plains of Wyoming, ripping the last stubborn leaves from the cottonwoods and hurling them into the black October sky. Rain came sideways, hard as buckshot, turning the dirt road into a river of mud. Headlights appeared out of the darkness, two pale eyes struggling through the storm, and then the pickup hydroplaned, spun once, and slammed nose-first into the bar ditch with a sickening crunch. Inside the cab, Jake Harlan gripped the wheel so tight his knuckles went white. The engine died with a cough. Water poured through the cracked windshield. For a moment he just sat there, 38 years old, soaked to the bone, staring at the useless glow of the dashboard lights. Another night, another nowhere town, another bottle waiting somewhere down the highway. He had been running so long he barely remembered what he was running from, only that stopping felt like dying. Then he saw her. A lone figure stood on the shoulder, half lit by his flickering hazards, waving both arms like a scarecrow in a hurricane. A woman. Young. Maybe 25. Coat pulled over her head, one hand clutching a little boy no older than 4 against her hip. The child's face was buried in her neck, but Jake could see the terror in the way the boy clung. Jake cursed under his breath, killed the lights, and stepped out into the deluge. "Ma'am," he had to shout over the wind. "You okay?" She was shaking, whether from cold or fear he couldn't tell. "My car died 2 miles back. I've been walking, my son's burning up with fever and my phone's dead and," her voice cracked. "Please. There's a hospital in KC. 20 miles. I don't know what else to do." Jake looked at the child. The boy's cheeks were scarlet, eyes glassy. Even through the rain he could feel the heat coming off him. Pneumonia weather. Mountain weather. The kind that killed the careless and the unlucky. He didn't think. Thinking was what he'd been doing for 8 straight years, and it had only ever led him deeper into the dark. "Get in," he said, yanking open the passenger door of his battered Ford. "Both of you." She hesitated only a heartbeat, long enough for a mother to weigh the danger of a stranger against the certainty of death on a deserted road, then climbed in, clutching her son like he was the only solid thing left in the world. Jake threw his rig into 4-wheel drive, eased out of the ditch, and pointed them north. The wipers fought a losing battle. Every mile felt like swimming upstream through molasses. "I'm Emily," she managed, teeth chattering. "This is Noah." "Jake Harlan," he answered, eyes locked on the road. "Just Jake's fine." Silence stretched between them, filled by the drum of rain on the roof and Noah's rasping breath. Emily kept one hand on her boy's forehead. "He woke up coughing blood this morning. Clinic in Buffalo said wait till tomorrow." "Tomorrow," she laughed, a broken sound. "Tomorrow feels a long way off tonight." Jake's jaw tightened. He knew that laugh. He'd used it himself in 100 bars when the whiskey stopped working. He reached across the seat, popped the glove box, and pulled out an old wool blanket that smelled of horses and wood smoke. He draped it over mother and child without looking at them. Emily pulled it close, murmuring thanks. 10 miles of blacktop crawled by. Then 20. The storm refused to ease. Noah started crying, thin, frightened whimpers that clawed at something long buried inside Jake's chest. Emily rocked him, whispering lullabies that were half prayer. Jake glanced over. "How high's the fever?" "I don't know anymore. Over 104, last I checked." He swore again, softer this time, and pressed the gas harder. The old Ford groaned but held. Emily's voice floated up, fragile as frost. "You didn't have to stop, you know. Most wouldn't have." Jake shrugged, eyes on the white line snaking ahead. "Most don't have to look at themselves in the mirror tomorrow." Another silence. Then, so quietly he almost missed it. "You running from something, Jake Harlan?" The question hit like a .45 slug between the ribs. He felt the old darkness rise, memories of a little girl's empty bedroom, a slammed door, the screech of tires on a rain-slick road outside Cheyenne 8 years ago. His daughter, Lily, taken by his ex the night the judge signed the papers. The night he chose the bar over the courthouse steps. The night he lost everything worth having. He opened his mouth to tell her it was none of her business, then looked at Noah burning up in his mother's arms and swallowed the words. "Maybe," he said at last. "Maybe I'm just tired of running." Headlights appeared ahead, an 18-wheeler jackknifed across both lanes, hazard lights blinking like a dying heartbeat. The only way to KC, blocked. Jake eased to a stop. 50 yards of rushing water separated them from the far side where the road continued. Emily's sharp intake of breath cut the silence. "We're not gonna make it." Noah's crying turned into a cough that rattled like gravel in a can. Jake stared at the floodwater, then at the boy, then at the rearview mirror where his own eyes, bloodshot, hollow, ancient, stared back. One choice, one night. He threw the truck into reverse, spun around, and floored it south. "Where are we going?" Emily's voice cracked with panic. "My place. 20 minutes if I don't kill us all. I've got a sat phone and a neighbor who used to be an army medic. We get Noah stable, then life flight can land on my meadow soon as this storm lifts." Emily stared at him, raindrops clinging to her lashes like tears she hadn't let fall yet. "You do that? Take us home with you?" Jake's laugh was rough as barbed wire. "Lady, I ain't got much left to lose. And that boy's got everything to gain." He drove like a man possessed, tires spitting mud, headlights carving tunnels through the storm. Emily held Noah and prayed out loud, words Jake hadn't heard since his mama took him to Sunday school a lifetime ago. They crested the last ridge, and there it was, Harlan Ranch, nothing more than a low log house, a sagging barn, and a lifetime of regrets glowing faintly under the porch light he'd left burning out of habit. Jake killed the engine and ran around to lift Noah from Emily's arms. The boy weighed next to nothing, a fragile bird made of fever and trust. Emily stumbled after them, coat plastered to her skin. Inside, the house smelled of pine and coffee and lonely years. Jake laid Noah on the leather couch, stoked the fire until it roared, and dug the satellite phone from a drawer. "Cash," he barked when the neighbor answered. "Got a sick kid. 4 years old. High fever, coughing blood. Need you now." Cash didn't ask questions. 10 minutes later his headlights cut across the yard. While they waited, Jake found children's Tylenol in a cabinet, leftover from a time he refused to think about, and measured a dose with hands that shook only a little. Emily took it from him like he was handing her gold. Cash arrived soaked and calm, took one look at Noah, and went to work, oxygen from a portable tank, for fluids, antibiotics he kept for orphan calves that somehow fit a little boy just fine. Emily sat on the floor clutching Jake's hand so tight her nails left crescents in his skin. Jake didn't pull away. Hours bled away. The storm raged outside, but inside the fire crackled and Noah's breathing slowly eased. Color returned to his lips. Cash finally stepped back, peeling off nitrile gloves. "He'll make it till morning. Chopper can take him to Billings soon as the ceiling lifts." "You did good, Harlan." Jake nodded, throat too full for words. Cash left with a quiet, "Call if you need me," and the slam of a screen door. Emily looked up at Jake, eyes shining in the firelight. "I don't know how to thank you." "Don't," he said roughly. "Just, stay till he's strong enough to travel. There's a spare room. Sheets are clean." She started to protest, but Noah stirred and reached for her. She curled around him on the couch instead, exhaustion winning. Jake stood there a long time watching them sleep, mother and child breathing in tandem, safe under his roof for the first time in what felt like forever. He pulled an old quilt from the cedar chest, hand-stitched by his grandmother, and laid it over them. His fingers brushed Emily's hair, just once, feather light. Then he walked out onto the porch, let the cold rain soak him clean, and cried for the first time since the night he lost his daughter. One choice, one night. And something broken inside Jake Harlan started. Dawn came slow and rose gold over the big horns, the storm spent, leaving the world washed new. Jake stood on the porch with a mug of coffee gone cold hours ago, watching steam rise off the meadows. The sat phone buzzed, Life Flight was wheels up out of Billings, 30 minutes out. Inside, Noah sat propped on pillows drinking apple juice through a straw, cheeks pink but no longer furnace hot. Emily hadn't left his side, though exhaustion ringed her eyes purple. Jake stepped back in. Chopper's coming. They'll take him to the children's hospital, run every test known to man. He's gonna be okay, Emily. She looked up, and for the first time he saw her really smile, small, tired, but real as sunrise. I keep thinking I'm gonna wake up and find out this was a dream, she whispered. That I'm still on that road in the dark. Jake set the mug down, awkward as a teenager. Dreams don't usually come with busted fences and a fridge full of elk steak, but you're welcome to stay till you're sure. Noah tugged his mom's sleeve. Mama, can the cowboy read me the horse book? Emily laughed, a sound like bells after thunder. Baby, we don't even know if he owns a horse book. Jake felt heat crawl up his neck. Top shelf, left bookcase. Black Stallion. My daughter, he stopped, the name catching like barbed wire. Used to love it. Emily's eyes softened. She saw more than he wanted her to. The thump of rotors announced the helicopter before it crested the ridge. Two paramedics in orange flight suits hustled in, checked vitals, loaded Noah onto a stretcher with teddy bears and easy jokes. Emily climbed in after him, then paused at the door. She looked back at Jake standing alone in the yard, hat in his hands, looking every bit the lost cowboy the storm had delivered to her doorstep. Jake Harlan, she called over the engine noise, you saved my son's life. But more than that, you gave me back hope when I had none left. That's a debt I can never repay. He started to shake his head, but she wasn't finished. I'm a photographer, she shouted. Travel the country chasing light. Noah and I, we don't have a place that feels like home. But for the first time in a long time, this morning, waking up here, it did. The medic tapped her shoulder, time to go. Emily did something then that changed everything. She jumped down, ran across the gravel, and threw her arms around Jake's neck. He froze, arms hanging useless at his sides, afraid to hold on and afraid to let go. Against his ear she whispered, we'll be back. As soon as he's strong enough. Because I think you're the light I've been chasing too. Then she was gone, lifted into the sky with her little boy, the chopper shrinking to a dragonfly speck against the wide Wyoming blue. Jake stood there until the sound faded completely. He didn't know how long, minutes, maybe hours, before he realized he was smiling. 3 weeks later a dusty Subaru pulled into the ranch yard just as the first snow started to fall. Emily stepped out, healthier, brighter, eyes the color of mountain lakes in summer. Noah bounded from the back seat clutching a new copy of the Black Stallion and wearing a cowboy hat 2 sizes too big. Jake met them on the porch, heart hammering against his ribs like a wild thing trying to break free. Noah launched himself at Jake's legs. Mama said you're lonely and you have too many cows and not enough stories, so we came to fix it. Emily's laugh floated on the cold air. She held up a thick envelope. Hospital bills, she said softly. Paid in full by an anonymous donor who left a note that just said one choice, one night. Jake's eyes burned. He looked away toward the mountains so they wouldn't see. Emily stepped closer. Noah starts preschool in town come spring. I leased the old Kramer place down the road, good light, south-facing windows for a darkroom. We were hoping, maybe you'd let us borrow your porch swing sometimes. And maybe read that horse book a few hundred times. Jake swallowed hard. When he spoke his voice came out gravel and grace. Porch swings got room for 3. And I reckon I've got 8 years of bedtime stories saved up. Noah hooped and ran inside to claim his spot by the fire. Emily stayed on the porch, snowflakes catching in her hair like stars. I was so scared that night, she said. Scared of the storm. Scared of dying on the side of the road. Scared of trusting a stranger. But you know what scares me more now? Jake shook his head. That I almost didn't flag you down. That I almost let fear win. One choice, one night, and I found the man I didn't even know I'd been searching for. He reached out, slow as sunrise, and tucked a snowflake strand behind her ear. I stopped running the minute I saw you standing in that storm, he said. Turns out all I needed was a reason bigger than my regrets. Emily rose on tiptoe and kissed him, soft, certain, tasting of coffee and second chances. Inside, Noah yelled, "Are y'all coming? The fire's perfect and I saved the middle cushion." They laughed, foreheads still touching, breath mingling in the cold. Hand in hand they walked into the house that hadn't felt like a home in 8 long years. Outside, the snow kept falling, gentle and forgiving, covering old wounds with new beginnings. And somewhere in the quiet places of the heart, Jake Harlan finally understood. Sometimes the thing you've been searching for your whole life is standing in the rain, waving you down on the darkest night you've ever known, if you're brave enough to stop. One choice. One night. And the cowboy found the woman, and the family, and the redemption, and the light, he had been searching for all along.